Use it to get $3,500 purchase allowance on every 2018 Encore Preferred model.
Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air. The family scare. Donald Trump Jr.'s wife and 2 others taken to the hospital after opening a package containing white powder. While at the White House, questions about President Trump and his former aide accused of physical abuse. The president wishing him well and saying, remember, he says he's innocent. Now reporters asking, will the president offer any message to the women? Also tonight, the deadly police standoff. 14 hours, 3 women killed, 3 officers wounded, and the gunman allegedly saying, I will not be taken without a fight. The deadly crash at the Grand Canyon. One of the survivors you can see escaping the fiery wreckage. And what we've learned tonight. The father lunging at that former gymnastics doctor, and tonight, will prosecutors press charges? What they're saying now. The Olympic figure skater jumping into the history books. Even the competition was cheering. And Adam Rippon, a nearly flawless performance. Some of the other skaters falling. So why was his score lower? And tonight, that new medical headline, a pill that could help get rid of the flu in 24 hours?
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here to start another week. And we begin with those 2 headlines tonight. President Trump under fire, defending his former close aide. But many now asking, will he deliver any message of support for the women? But first, that scare for President Trump's family. Don Jr.'s wife, Vanessa, and 2 others taken to the hospital after opening an envelope, white powder inside. Tonight, we have learned that Vanessa Trump says she felt ill and that the note was postmarked Boston and expressed anger toward Trump Jr., reportedly addressing the son directly. ABC's Gio Benitez leading us off.
Tonight, the Secret Service and the NYPD are investigating a suspicious package sent to Donald Trump Jr. His wife, Vanessa, opening a letter to find a white powder inside. She called 911 just after 10 a.m., telling police she was feeling dizzy.
Responded to 44 suspicious suspects.
Firefighters treating Vanessa Trump and 2 others there at the family's New York apartment before taking them to the hospital where they had tests done as a precaution. The powder later deemed non-hazardous. Donald Trump Jr. tweeting late today, thankful that Vanessa and my children are safe and unharmed after the incredibly scary situation that occurred this morning. Truly disgusting that certain individuals choose to express their opposing views with such disturbing behavior. The White House reacting this afternoon.
I know the president spoke with her. Beyond that, at this point, it's an ongoing and active investigation, so I can't comment any further. But I can say that the president has spoken with her within the last hour.
It's not the first time. In March 2016, a package with white powder was sent to the president's other son, Eric. The powder also non-hazardous. And in April of that year, a suspicious white powder was found inside an envelope sent to the president's campaign office, addressed to Mr. Trump himself. That substance turned out to be harmless too. Tonight, Ivanka Trump tweeting a message of support to her sister-in-law, thinking of Mrs. Vanessa Trump and wishing I was by her side today. No one deserves to be frightened this way. There is no excuse.
And Gio Benitez with us live tonight from New York. Gio, what more do we know about the package and who sent it?
Well, David, again, all we know right now is that it was postmarked in Boston and that it had a very angry letter directed at John Jr. But still, no doubt, this is just the beginning of this investigation.
Gio Benitez leading us off tonight. Gio, thank you. Meantime, the White House was pressed today about the president's response to his close aide accused of domestic abuse by 2 of his ex-wives. The president supporting his former aide, saying we wish him well, and remember, he says he's innocent. And the White House was asked about the president's silence when it comes to the alleged victims of domestic violence. Is this response a pattern? ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega asking, when will the president offer his own message to the women?
With scandal hanging over his White House, today President Trump sought to shift the focus to his $200 billion infrastructure plan.
To me, this is a very, very sexy subject. The media doesn't find it sexy. I find it sexy because I was always a builder.
But no mention of the 2 ex-wives of his former staff secretary Rob Porter, who went public nearly a week ago with their claims of domestic abuse. Even after Porter's first wife released this photo, the president had only praise for his close aide.
We certainly wish him well. It's a obviously tough time for him. Now, he also, as you probably know, he says he's innocent. And I think you have to remember that.
On Twitter, President Trump seeming to side with the accused, writing, "People's lives are being shattered and destroyed by a mere allegation. Is there no such thing any longer as due process?" Porter's second wife, Jenny Willoughby, responded with a scathing public takedown in Time magazine. Quote, "If the most powerful people in the nation do not believe my story of abuse in the face of overwhelming evidence, then what hope do others have of being heard?" With the West Wing in chaos today, aides came to the president's defense.
The president has been very clear that all forms of abuse, all forms of battery against women,
but he hasn't
is
said
deplorable
that.
and disgusting. Right, but he hasn't. You haven't talked to him today.
Instead, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders read a statement saying the words many have been waiting to hear from the president himself.
Why haven't we heard the president say exactly what you just said right there, that he takes domestic violence very seriously?
I spoke with the president. Those are actually directly his words that he gave me.
But why hasn't he said that? He had the opportunity.
I spoke to him and he relayed that message directly to me, and I'm relaying it directly to you.
Does he believe Rob Porter's accusers, or are they lying?
Look, as I just said, the president, along with the entire administration, take domestic violence very seriously and believe all allegations need to be thoroughly investigated.
But in reality, the president has defended men accused of abusing women far more than he has their victims and accusers. From Roger Ailes,
I can tell you that some of the women that are complaining, I know how much he's helped them.
to Bill O'Reilly,
I know Bill. Bill's a good person. I don't think Bill would do anything wrong.
and more than a dozen women have accused the president of misconduct. He's called them all liars. Asked today if he still wishes Rob Porter well,
The president wants success for all Americans.
So let's get to Cecilia Vega. She's live at the White House for us tonight. And Cecilia, we know that Rob Porter was working with a temporary security clearance because of those allegations from his former wives. You've reported that already. But today, the White House was pressed on whether staff are still working with temporary clearance more than a year into this administration and whether or not that poses a security threat.
And David, Sarah Sanders' response to that question was to blame the media, saying we're the ones who publish classified information and put national security at risk. But look, Rob Porter's first wife made it very clear when she spoke to us. She told us that she told the FBI during his background check interviews that he would be subject to blackmail because of all the people who knew about these alleged abuses. But David, I've got to say, in the meantime, it is infrastructure here. The third time this White House has tried to roll that out, and once again, it is overshadowed by controversy.
By these headlines today. All right, Cecilia Vega, our thanks to you, starting another week. In the meantime, we have new reporting tonight after that deadly helicopter crash in the Grand Canyon. The sightseeing helicopter plunging into a deep ravine, erupting into a fireball. 3 people were killed, 4 seriously injured, and in the video you can actually see one of the passengers crawling out to safety. Tonight here, new questions about these helicopters used for tours. And here's ABC's Marcy Gonzalez near the scene of the crash tonight.
Investigators tonight trying to determine if the helicopter that crashed into the Grand Canyon had a critical piece of equipment designed to prevent fiery explosions like this one.
The crash-resistant fuel system is a very important part of this investigation.
The woman seen right there emerging from the wreckage, one of 4 survivors of this crash that killed Stuart Hill, his girlfriend and brother. The group visiting from the United Kingdom to celebrate Stuart's birthday, touring the Grand Canyon around sunset Saturday when investigators say a storm moved in. Rescuers rushing to the scene, facing rugged terrain and wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour, stranding them and the victims in the canyon for more than 8 hours.
What we were doing was mainly just stabilizing the patients.
This just one of 15 fatal sightseeing helicopter crashes nationwide since 2003. The survivors, including these newlyweds and the helicopter's pilot, finally airlifted out, listed in critical condition tonight. David, the NTSB team on site here is looking for cell phones and videos in the wreckage, reviewing weather data and looking to talk to witnesses as they try to figure out if this crash could have been prevented. David?
Marcy Gonzalez tonight. Marcy, thank you. Next this evening, the deadly 14-hour standoff in Detroit we were watching today. 3 women killed, 3 police officers wounded, and the gunman barricaded inside the home. Police saying he vowed, "I will not be taken without a fight." Here's ABC's Alex Perez.
Officers are swarming this Detroit neighborhood after a frantic call of shots fired.
Still an active shooter there, still shooting outside.
The standoff lasting for some 14 hours.
Just a ton of police activity unfolding right now.
Police say the gunman, barricaded inside a home with his girlfriend, had killed 2 other women outside when he opened fire on arriving officers, wounding 3.
Our officers and the DPS officers were pinned down for at least an hour while shots were being fired.
The ordeal, police believe, began when the gunman, identified as 49-year-old Lance Smith, became involved in a domestic situation. The 2 women who were gunned down, investigators say, were trying to help.
The suspect was heard saying, "I will not be taken without a fight."
With help from robots, authorities finally able to enter the home, discovering the bodies of the suspect and his girlfriend inside. David, those 3 officers who were shot, their injuries are not life-threatening. David?
All right, Alex Perez tonight. Alex, thank you. We move on now. New fallout this evening after President Trump pushed for the release of the Republican memo from the House Intelligence Committee about the Russia investigation, but then the president's decision not to declassify the Democratic response to that memo. Here's ABC's Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas now.
Tonight, some accusing the president of a double standard on those dueling memos involving the Russia probe. Late Friday night, the president decided not to release the Democrats' response to that declassified Republican memo, which claims the FBI relied on a politically tainted dossier to obtain a search warrant against former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Mr. Trump tweeting the Democrats' memo is political, adding the Democrats knew it because of sources and methods and more would have to be heavily redacted. This after the president authorized the release of the Republicans' memo, despite the fact that the FBI had grave concerns. Democrats say it's the president who's being political.
This week, though, the White House apparently has a newfound admiration for the FBI.
Sources say the Democrats' response challenges the Republican memo by showing that the dossier was far from the only source used to get that warrant.
So let's get to Pierre Thomas with us live tonight. And Pierre, now the White House saying it's up to the Democrats to revise their memo?
That's right, David. The president told Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee to, quote, redo and send back in proper form. Congressman Adam Schiff is expected to meet with FBI officials soon, but it's unclear tonight whether that will be enough to release that memo, David.
PR, thanks to you as well. Next to the Winter Games in South Korea, Team USA striking its first gold, making history, breaking records, and also raising some questions. Why did one American skater turn in a nearly perfect performance, scoring lower than the other skaters who fell? ABC's Matt Gutman is in Pyeongchang again tonight.
Just 21 seconds into her routine, Mirai Nagasu making history.
Go right up and do it. Yes!
The first American woman to land a triple axel at the Olympics. That leap of faith good enough to lift the Americans to bronze in team skating, but it was a babyface snowboarder, Red Gerard, who took home the first gold for the U.S. Roaring back from last place in the slopestyle event, he's also the youngest American male to win gold in nearly a century, just 17.
What do you do now? Besides graduate high school, as you said.
Yeah, that's first.
Snowboarder Jamie Anderson grabbing gold herself, defending her Olympic title. The 27-year-old from California achieving that feat for the first time ever amid wind so fierce, some events had to be canceled. American Chris Madster is making history also. He'd been in a years-long slump coming into the games, barely breaking the top 20. For him, it was rock bottom.
To break through in this capacity at this event is just unbelievable.
Winning silver, the first medal ever for American men in the single luge. Adam Rippon nearly flawless, yet placing third behind 2 skaters who fell. We were with his mom, Kelly, when he FaceTimed. And guess who else showed up? His roommate, Mirai Nagasu.
You guys are great.
Hanging out with his mom as he checks in. Matt Gutman with us from Pyeongchang tonight, and you showed us Adam Rippon with that nearly flawless performance. America, of course, watching. The other skaters actually falling, though, so why the lower score?
Well, it's one of the many quirks of scoring in figure skating. Apparently, you're allotted more points for trying more difficult maneuvers and failing than you are for executing flawlessly maneuvers that require less risk. Still, I spoke to team members yesterday, including you saw Adam Rippon, and he said he's still very pleased with his bronze medal. David.
All right. Thank you, Matt. There's still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Monday. The new medical headline, a pill that could help get rid of the flu in 24 hours. We'll explain. Also, the deadly police ambush, the officers ambush responding to a 911 call, and what we've now learned. The former Major League star arrested, what they discovered, and the father who lunged at former gymnastics Dr. Larry Nassar. Will prosecutors press charges? But they're now saying goodnight.
If you have moderate to